Hello and welcome to my third match from the Dominion League against Mikaelsson. This is the feature game for two reasons. The first is that we see what happens when one person has access or can leverage cards from a rotating pile and the other player cannot. The second reason is that we explore a variation to the classic apprentice market square strategy. Let's have a look at the kingdom now. We have trashing from temple and from hideout. We have plus cards from old witch and from destria. We have plus action from hideout as well. There's buy in market square and skulk. There's no gain. However, within the rotating pile, there is a gainer in the sunken treasure, and there is a source of plus cards in the distant shore. The classic apprentice market square strategy can be split up into two parts. Apprentice, if you recall, does two things. It trashes and it draws cards. In this kingdom, we will separate those tasks and assign them to the corresponding cards in the kingdom. The trashing will be outsourced, so to speak, to the temple or the hideout, and the draw will be outsourced to primarily destrias. Not so much the old witch, because the plus actions are difficult to come by. Also, when you gain gold, the price of destria comes down. It's easier to buy them. Let's see how we start this game. We are first player, and we open with 3 coin and get an old map. I think all of the cards in that Odyssey rotating pile is very important. All the cards are very important. The voyage, especially, I want to get early. I cannot stress enough how important extra turns are in Dominion, even if there are restrictions placed on them. Voyage in most kingdoms will give you an advantage over an opponent that does not play Voyage. In this case, Voyage's restriction is that it only allows you to play 3 cards from your hand, but you'll see the extra turn is going to provide immense value. My opponent does the same, probably with the same idea in mind, and I go for a temple for the trashing as opposed to my opponent's hideout. I go for the temple because it trashes more cards potentially than the hideout. I'm interested in getting thin quickly for 2 reasons. The first is there's an old witch in the kingdom, and I need to be able to deal with those curses. Otherwise, I get flooded and then my deck doesn't function. The second reason is that I want to remove the junk cards from my deck as quickly as possible so I can start building this variation of the apprentice market square strategy. If you've played that deck before, you know that you want to just get rid of the rubbish and your deck should just be apprentice gold market square. My opponent goes for the slower option, the hideout. I do see an estate and a copper with my temple. I'm very happy about that. My opponent on turn 3 gets to 5 and they get an old witch. That is good for them. Here I have 5 as well, but I don't buy the old witch. The voyage is much more important to me than the old witch. There's draw in destria, the curses I can handle, and the apprentice market square deck is powerful. You'll see soon enough how strong it is. It can overcome a few curses here and there. Now, because my opponent had 5 on their last turn, what does it mean? It means they do not have enough money to buy a voyage on this turn. Recall their opening buy was old map and hideout, no money. So if 5 was there, it means 2 at most is in the next hand. No voyage for them. However, I'm unable to rotate the voyage away from them. I do not see my old map. I do get to trash 2 cards. I'm glad about that. However, my opponent has an opportunity now to buy a voyage of their own. Unfortunately, Dominion said no. You don't get to buy a voyage, Mikaelsson. You have to say be content with your market square. I play my voyage and I am going to deny my opponent that resource. On 3, I will also get a market square. One of these 3 cards that can be played from hand will be the old map to deny my opponent that also important resource of the extra turn. I do reveal the sunken treasure, but I think the voyage is stronger than the sunken treasure. Luckily, I see my estate with a copper. I trash both and I trigger my market square to gain a gold. All of that off a voyage turn on turn 5. Deny my opponent, trash 2 cards, gain gold. Extremely valuable. Alright, back to Mikaelsson. Hideout into Old Witch, into Old Map. Surely they have 5 here to get a sunken treasure, right? No, they do not. They do not. Here I have the option of trashing with the temple and triggering the market square to gain a gold. However, I thought about the cards left in my deck. There's an old map, there's a gold. I was particularly interested in finding the gold because that would let me get to 5, let me buy a sunken treasure. I very much want the gain from the sunken treasure. So instead of trashing and gaining gold here, I try to find the gold. I find an old map instead, which is fine. It means I can keep looking. I find voyage and there's the gold. Great. So I get my voyage in play. I'm not going to trash. Sunken treasure is far too valuable. And we buy the sunken treasure. If we're lucky, we see it straight away. What we do see though is the old map. Again, I'm going to rotate a very important resource away from my opponent. I will be the only player with gain in this kingdom. I'll be the only player with an extra turn in this kingdom for quite some time, and that is going to be a decisive advantage. I do find the old map, the sunken treasure as well, and it gains me my first Destria. We are putting together the pieces that we need for this market square deck. My opponent rotates away from the distant shores. They are desperately trying to get back to the voyage and sunken treasure, understandably so. I take on another curse, but I don't take that on mentally. That just comes in the deck because the deck is clean. I can get to that curse sooner or later. Second old map for my opponent. It makes sense. They need more control over that pile. It also helps to filter a bit, which is useful. Temple trash is 1, and on 4 I'm going to buy a hideout. Hideout now is going to be probably a better trasher for me than the temple. The temple really shines when it can trash 2 cards. However, now that the estates are gone, temple will probably just trash 1. Additionally, the hideout provides some plus action. It's a couple of points for museum. I'm planning to get an old witch as well. Can't just be taking all the curses. Give some back to your opponent. Share the love. And the old witch is very easy for me to gain, even on voyage turns, because sunken treasure. We play 1 Destria looking for the hideout and maybe the market square. We don't find the market square, but we do find the sunken treasure. We gain an old witch on our voyage turn. Trigger, shuffle, pass it back to my opponent. Trash a curse from the hand here of my opponent's old witch. I will not trigger the market square because I want to find my voyage and I want to find my sunken treasure. If I get rid of the market square, I draw 1 less card and I may miss 1 or both of those cards. So there'll be plenty of time to gain gold later. Let's get to the important cards now. Let's see if my opponent can get to their voyage. They cannot. Instead, they gain a gold and they buy a Destria. Here, I am going to gain my second gold. I might be able to find it. I do find it. That's excellent. I don't find the market square, unfortunately. So I just have the 1 buy. Sunken treasure now gains me a trail. That'll be a valuable card going forward. My deck is almost clean, and in order to keep trashing, to keep triggering the market squares, I need a target. Trail will be that target. Doesn't ever go to the bin. And on 6, I will buy a Destria, our second Destria. We're coming along very nicely here. The voyage and the sunken treasure have put me significantly ahead of my opponent. On the voyage turn, trash a curse, gain a gold, buy an expedition. That's a good enough turn for me. Good enough turn for me. My opponent sees the voyage. Then they said, no, we want sunken treasure instead. I said, all right, Mikaelsson, you take the sunken treasure. I think the voyage is better, but whatever floats your boat. That was a joke because the treasure is sunken. The boat isn't floating anymore. Anyways, maybe I should stick to Dominion. 8 and 2 buys for my opponent. I think it's going to be a sunken treasure for sure if they rotated twice. Yep, they get one and they get a second market square. I see my whole deck very clean. Trigger the market square. Draw back the gold that the market square gained. And now we have 12 and 2 buys. We need more plus buy. We are going to get a market square at some point in this turn for sure, for sure. We have so much money and so few buys that has to be rectified immediately. Sunken Treasure gains at Temple. All the other cards are in play. Destria, Trail, Market Square. So we gain the Temple. It's a points play. A Secret Passage is probably strictly better for consistency, but come on, look at the deck. We get our second Market Square, and we get another Destria. Off to the Voyage turn. Play nothing, because I want to gain a Destria with my Sunken Treasure. If the Destria goes into play, the Sunken Treasure cannot gain it. And on 3, I bought an Expedition. I think I should have bought a Market Square there. However, I'm so far ahead, the inaccuracy is unlikely to matter. My opponent rotates a couple of times again. This time they are looking for the Voyage, I presume. They gain another gold, give me another curse. All this is fine at this point. I don't really care because the deck is working brilliantly. We have arrived at Apprentice Market Square territory. Opponent gains a Trail. They have 10 and 3 buys now. They go for triple Destria. Nope. Double Destria and a third Market Square. Now, I want those last 3 Destrias. I'm going to do my best to get them. Hideout trashes one of my temples. I trigger both my Market Squares, so I gain 2 gold. Brings down the price of Destria by 2. See, they cost 4 now. And I'll be able to see those gold straight away. Trash the curse out with the temple. Get the Voyage into play. Out comes the Sunken Treasure. Now, I'm not so interested in the temple. The Secret Passage is better now with the amount of treasure I have in the deck. 3 buys is a bit unfortunate. You really need more buys than this, but I don't want to surrender the draw to my opponent that easily. So I'm going to take 3 Destrias and see what happens on my Voyage turn. I do have a lot of money unspent. That's my own fault for not having an extra Market Square in the deck. We'll live. Top deck one of these Destria cards for next turn with the Secret Passage. See, that's something else you could do on your Voyage turn. Set up your next turn. I have 3 and a Sunken Treasure. Sunken Treasure can gain me another Trail. That seems to be the most useful thing. And I go for an Expedition. Now, at this point, piles are low. All the curses are finished. All the Destrias are finished. There are 5 Market Squares. However, none of us could actually empty the Market Squares because we don't have enough buys. My opponent has 4 buys maximum. And then they have to deal with the points situation. I've scored because of my temple plays and buys and gains. And I think I might be a little bit ahead on the museum. Maybe. It's not clear. Anyways, my opponent is now going to be able to get to a Voyage here, if I recall correctly. With this draw, it looks like that will be the case. They gain more gold. Old map spins the old maps away to reveal the Voyages. And they will use their Sunken Treasure to gain that. They do see all of the gold that they gain this turn. So they have 12 and 4 buys. They're not that far behind, mind you. But they do have less draw than me. And their deck is not as clean. They start in on the province and they go for a temple. Maybe for the points. They think about a copper here, but they undo that because really that's not a good buy at all. Just trash your temple or trash the trail or something. You don't need that copper for trashing. Here are all the Destrias we bought last turn for very, very cheap. All of them. And you're going to see probably the closest thing to the Apprentice Market Square deck on this turn. Doesn't matter about this rotating pile now. Everybody has the key cards from it. Hideout is going to trash one of the trails. That will trigger the Market Squares. Also trigger the trail, so I'll draw 1 card. I'm going to draw all of those cards. Market Squares and gold. And I can do it again with another trash. With another trash. I don't discard 2 market squares this time though. Just the one. I didn't think I could draw back all of the cards if I discarded both. Sunken Treasure gains me another market square. I have 3 buys and 27 coins. Triple Province. You really wanted that other 4th market square, but it's fine. 3 buys will do the trick here. Because even on my voyage turn, just slap 3 gold on the table and buy a province. Come at me. That's probably the best voyage we had all game. Let's see what my opponent can do, but now I'm not worried at all. If I draw well here, the game is done. The game is completely over because I have the money for triple province, and even if I don't, maybe I get it on the voyage. My opponent's only hope here is to rotate the sunken treasures away, pick up the distant shores. That is a source of extra VP for them, but I think I'll win this game. So here's 12, 4 buys. Here's the sunken treasure. They gain a secret passage, makes sense. They buy another province because, well, they can't win without enough provinces. And let's see what they get up to on their voyage turn. They went for an expedition as well on the voyage turn. Limited use, obviously, but we'll see if it was worth it. We will see if it was worth it for sure. Old map rotates into the sunken treasure, so they do get a distant shore. They do get a distant shore, and they buy an estate. However, can we find the money that we need? I don't need any more gold, so I can play these market squares freely. I don't have to hold them back and wait for trashing to show up. And it looks like we'll be fine here given this hand. Old map discards a trail even, that'll give me plus actions, so I don't necessarily need to play the hideout. Do play the hideout. And we find, yep, just enough here for triple province. And we win this game comfortably. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.